And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're going to be taking a look at something big, really big. This is the Takenoko Special Edition. And I mean, this is a pretty heavy box that I'm holding here. I want to say this is at least 15 pounds or so. This is, it has a sheath around it, but it's a wooden box. Now this is the special edition of Takenoko. It's actually going to be available at Essen this year. You'll be able to go in and buy this or some of the giant pieces inside it. And is it worth it to get a giant, basically collector's version of this game? Now, I've reviewed Takenoko before, and you can go look at that review if you want, but I am going to show you how to play the game in this one and take a look at it. And more importantly than anything else, take a look at these pieces. Okay, so let's take a look at what's inside the box. Very sturdy box. So on the top, we have the rule book, which is very similar to the rule book from the original game. Then you have this nice, foam, really thick foam in here, which has spots on it so you can fit the first layer in. A giant die, a giant panda. Now the cards are exactly the same as the original game, but I guess no one really needs giant cards. The giant farmer, and then these player pieces here. Now I kind of hope that they had made the player pieces cooler, like different colors. That would have been useful because these symbols are hard to tell apart from each other. These you pop off a little bit from the back. They fit in there very snugly, but as you can see, I was able to pop them all out pretty quickly. So there's those pieces. Then we have the large player shields or boards. Then the tiles. Tiles are huge, huge tiles. So we have piles of these tiles in here, as well as the small tiles that fit on the sides. And then the final level comes out like this. And then it looks like a toy box, basically. I mean, really. It looks like a kid's toy box. Look how humongous these are. Alright, now let's take a look, if you've never played the game before, at how the game plays. The game begins with this center tile here, with a nice koi pond here, and on top of it we put the giant panda, and we put the gardener. There are 3 decks of cards. Each of these cards gives a different objective, so players will take these objectives, 1 card from each to start the game. And then one player goes first, and it continues until someone wins. Now, players will have their player board, and they'll be looking at their player board, although it's not completely necessary. The way this player board works is the first thing the player does in their turn is they roll a die. And your board here tells you what each side of the die means. A question mark, incidentally, means you can do anything you want. You normally have 2 actions on your turn. If you roll the sun, you get a 3rd action. If you roll the lightning bolt, you must move the panda. The panda's scared. If you roll the wind, you get 2 actions like normal, but they can be the same thing. Normally your actions have to be different. If you get rain, you can add a bamboo shoot on the board. And if you roll the cloud, you can add a special tile. Now you have these 2 markers that you can mark your actions with, although I've never really understood the point of this because it's not like I can't remember what actions I'm doing when I'm only doing 2 of them. But let's talk about the different actions that you can do. One of the actions you can do is you can draw 3 tiles off the top of the pile, look at these tiles, and then place one on the board. That tile must either connect to the center tile or it must connect to 2 other tiles. So if I'm placing a 3rd tile here, I could put it here, 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 or I could put it here, but I couldn't put it here. It can never go next to just one unless that's the center tile. Each of these tiles here has a different color. It's either going to be green, pink, or yellow. If that tile is irrigated, which means it's next to water or next to an irrigation channel, as soon as you put it out, you'll put out 1 bamboo shoot of that color. This one here is not irrigated. A second action you can take is you can take an irrigation stream token, and you don't have to use them right away. You can place them here in your sheet to keep them for later use. But what you're trying to do is you'll start the irrigation from the center, like this, and then maybe later on I can do another one that leads from that, and now this is irrigated because it's directly next to one of these irrigation tokens, which would make this come out like that. Another thing you can do in your turn is you can move the gardener. The gardener can move as far as you want in a straight line. So he can move here to the pink or to the green. Obviously there's not a lot of tiles out, but as more tiles are placed on the board, he'll have more options of where to move. So he could go here, and then from here he could go all the way up to here, etc. Wherever he stops, you will add a bamboo shoot to both the spot he stops on and any spot of the same color next to the spot he stops on, again, as long as they're both irrigated. Now the highest that these can go is 4. So once there's 4 on a spot, which, come on, you gotta admit, this is looking pretty cool, then that can't grow anymore. So that's what the gardener does. You can also move the panda. When you move the panda to a spot, the panda will eat the top shoot of that spot, and you will again place that on your sheet here in your panda's stomach. This is the food that your panda has eaten. There are a few spots on the board that the panda can't eat at. If you'll notice, there's a little symbol here that shows the panda can't eat at this tile. It's protected. The other symbols on the board, this spot here has automatic irrigation, so it doesn't need to be connected to the irrigation system for it to grow bamboo. And these spots are fertilizer. Once they are irrigated and anything grows on them, it always grows in pairs of 2 rather than just 1 at a time. And so this is the way the game is going to progress. Another action you can take, the final action, is to draw another card, an objective card, although you can only have 5 of those maximum in your hand. So what do the objective cards do? Simple. These cards from the blue deck, you just need to have this pattern on the board and have it be irrigated. So I need to have 2 yellows and 2 greens. Obviously the board's not like that at all, but if it was, I would be able to use that card. So there's different kinds of these irrigation cards, trying to get different patterns of tiles on the board. The bamboo shoot tokens, these work where, for example here, I simply need to have a bamboo stalk that's 4 tall, and it needs to be in a spot that does not have one of those special symbols. Here's a yellow one that needs to be on a spot where there's no panda. And so if one of these things occurs, then you can place these cards in front of you and score the points that are on them. And finally, the bamboo is eating, the panda eating bamboo. So here 2 yellows, or 2 greens, or 2 pinks, or 1 of each color. So what you'll do is, if you have that much in your stomach from the panda eating, so let's say I needed 2 greens and I had 2 greens in here, I would discard those and be able to play the card. The game will continue until one person has played a certain number of objectives, and that is determined by the number of players. That person will take this extra 2-point objective, and then after the round of play, everyone will total up all the points from their objectives, and the person with the most points is the winner. Okay, first of all, let's talk about the gameplay, and then we'll get into the pieces. The gameplay itself is very fun. Takenoko is one of those games that I've really enjoyed because it's what I call a family game. It's a game that I can bring out and people can easily jump into and play it. They can, it's easy because there's not a lot of complications about it. You're putting pandas out, you're matching the patterns on the cards, matching numbers of stalks in the bamboo, and your panda eats it, moving the pieces around, and everybody likes it. And you know what? This is the way it was before the special edition. When you move around the giant stuff, it's even cooler. But the game is one that I can teach very quickly. The rolling the die gives you a special thing that gives you something different. You know, sometimes you love having that third action or 2 of the same action. You know, sometimes you don't care about those. Turning the tiles over, matching those. Sometimes someone else will set you up perfectly for the card that you need. And there's a decent amount of luck in it, and the game isn't that heavy, but it is very cool. It's a neat experience, and it's one of those games that if I'm having a family game day, and incidentally I'm having on tomorrow, that I would take it to, and I will take this one to that game day tomorrow. Now, this special edition here, first of all, it's phenomenal production. I mean, that's not so easy always to get from the video. You're looking at it and you're saying, well, okay, I can see that it's big-ish. No, this is huge, all right? The panda bear here is, I mean, look at that in the palm of my hand. This is bigger than some games. And then just the whole the whole sacks of bamboo. It was really pretty cool in the original one, how they moved around and they fit together like blocks, and little kids are going to steal this game and play with them as blocks. This is just some of the pieces, and you saw in that component dump just so many pieces flying around. They're high quality wood. It's really cool. Now, do you need a special edition of Takenoko? Now that's where the problem lies. And I mean, some games, you know, it's definitely a luxury item. But I'll tell you this, you know, if someone had come to me and said, pick some games that you think need special editions, Takenoko would never have crossed my mind. It wouldn't have. But now that it has, I'm really glad it does. I'm going to keep mine, because when I take this to an event and set it up, it's a really cool looking game. It's a game that's just going to wow people, knock their socks off. And then they come and they play it, and it's an easy game to get into. It's a fun, easy game to get into. There's a lot of special editions of games you're like, wow, that's really cool, but their games are very intimidating for new people. This is cool. Every gaming store in existence should own one of these. They really should. You should have one of these set up on the table. People will come in and like, wow, and then you can sell them the original version, which is the same game. But it's a great display piece for stores. They should have it. Game Group should probably get one, especially if you're trying to track new gamers. For the personal gamer, well, again, like I said, it's a luxury gamer. You can sit there and go, oh, with that much money, $200 or so, I could buy multiple games, and that's true. However, this is a game that you can pass on to your kids. This is an heirloom. It's a good game. I'm still not going to tell you whether it's right for you to buy or not. I'm not saying everybody should rush out and get it, although I think everybody should get Takenoko. The collector's edition, though, is really cool. It's certainly one I think highly of. I mean, these are just great pieces, especially the panda.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!